online, just so you know.
Hey,
Did you guys get a chance to watch the video I sent to the chat? Or to the Twitter post from last night?
I don't think so. Not yet.
I'll watch it tonight.
You will?
Yeah.
I think you'll get a good laugh out of it. It's kind of hilarious just to see how easily you can beat down bad arguments by even lazier conservatives.
You're talking about that Prager thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I watched most of that. That was very good.
Broken. Have you seen that they have stainless steel rebar now that lasts a lot longer than normal rebar that they're putting in concrete? It's a lot more expensive, but it lasts like 100 years longer.
Wow.
You know, there's all kinds of crazy stuff they've got that they could use.
Here's my question for you: is why do we want? Can I say something?
Yeah.
Why do we want something that lasts 100 years? Don't we want to change up and update any type of infrastructure maybe every quarter century?
Well, I mean, making it adaptable is a good idea.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, I mean, I agree with these guys. You want to build a new infrastructure. I mean, you got to sort of maintain what we have for now, but also be building in tandem, be building a totally new infrastructure that does this kind of stuff where we can move cars more efficiently or move especially goods, you know, or whatever, you know, even if we don't move our goods so much, we move ourselves. One thing is that will be attractive to business. You know, a migratory workforce is always something they like. You know, it's just a wage thing.
Okay, so Ariel brought up a really good point earlier when we were talking about building infrastructure, and I said this a little while ago as I was talking to the mayor of Fountain Valley, and there's a few places like this where no matter what you do, you can't take any side streets. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Any side streets to get past this little, like 2 to 3 mile area of just solid crunch time traffic.
Oh yeah.
And what I proposed to this mayor is I actually drew like the highway, and then on the sides there's plenty of room for bicycling or electric bikes. So what she's saying is on a smaller level, we have to start applying ourselves like job switching. Like I have the same job some other guy has, but I'm doing 20 miles to my job, and he lives by me, but his job is 20 miles away, and you know what I'm saying? You guys understand? I'm not explaining that right, but it's just like different ways of finding ways to get closer to our jobs, using less gas, using less energy. You know, these things need to be like, sadly, they should become law. I mean, we really need to start doing stuff like that.
Working from home if you can. I mean, I work from home. I don't drive anywhere.
Well, that's what I don't know if any of you guys have ever read Dmitry Orlov. He's a really great, intelligent thinker. And he was born in the Soviet Union before its collapse. And so he grew up and experiencing that, and he came to the United States. And he's been living on sailboats. And right now he's working on designing a new sailboat that's like super high-tech and cool that won't flip over, and it's going to be like a houseboat that runs through sailing and a motor, but it won't flip over on like the high seas whenever there's like bad weather. It's a really crazy idea, but he's gonna get through with it. But he came up with the idea of the iron triangle, and it's like your car, your job, and then the insurance, you know, that you need for those things. And it's like you have to get the car to get to your job, and then you have to have a job to pay for the car, and it's just like it all is this trap that you can't get out of once you get in.
It's like what Buckminster Fuller talked about. I also love Dmitry Orlov's talks about the technosphere. You know what I'm talking about.
So, a question for everyone. This is really deep. This is Jamarl Thomas talk.
Oh, my favorite kind of talk.
So, speaking evolutionary-wise, if the theory holds true that birds are just descendants of dinosaurs in an evolutionary process, was that evolutionary process successful for them?
I would say so.
Yes. Oh yeah.
In nature, success equals life.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Really,
we eat them.
Well, I mean, I'd say if they're still here, then they're pretty successful. You know, it's like corn. Corn is probably the most successful plant on the planet right now.
and it really shouldn't.
Yeah, it shouldn't be, but it is. It just happened to take advantage of the humans and used us to take over the world, pretty much.
We thought we were using it, but in reality, it was
okay. So here's a follow-up question to that. So if they are regarded as successful, for us, is success just staying alive till the next evolutionary process, wherever that takes us?
No. Here's the difference. Here's the difference between those two. Birds are not intelligent, sentient beings like we are. There's a difference. Their survival equals success. Our survival doesn't, and here's why. Because we have the innate ability to achieve more. We have the ability to reason and rationalize with our environment, and that makes us different in that way from birds. So just surviving would not be a success for us. That would actually, in my opinion, that would actually be a failure if that's all we did was survive.
I would go one step further, even, Bram, and say that, I mean, success is really measured by, to me, quality of life. A bird may survive. I mean, I'm an avid bird watcher, but they might not be very happy if they're in a shitty environment that's covered with oil and is too hot to live in, and their eggs are failing, and it's harder and harder for them to make it. And so I think, you know, animals and humans, we don't have the same cognizance, but we all feel things, and we all feel quality of life, for sure. There's no doubt. And I think that's true for people too. If success is not just surviving, because if we're unhappy, if we're hungry, if the food is crappy, if our house sucks, we're not going to be as happy. It's just the truth. That's why we're not happy not having health care, because not being able to make sure our health is part of it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Quality of life equals success to me.
Yeah. It's not just it's not just existing. Existing I'm not really interested in. I'm interested in thriving, not existing.
Maybe bird success is surviving humans.
Yeah, I would say so.
That'll be any animal's success over the next 100 years. Is, you know, what animals can outlast the humans? That'll be the successful creature right there.
We're killing a species off at 1,000 times the normal rate.
All right, Kevin, go ahead.
If you're going to think success like that, then the animals better evolve to be tastier.
Like the birds. They became great Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah, is that their success or ours?
Yeah, but there's really only a few birds that we eat out of the thousands and thousands that inhabit the planet. There's only a few that we've deemed delicious enough, or that we've been able to, cultivate to get them bigger and fatter and meatier.
That's a good point to bring up.
And a wild turkey are a lot different than a farmed turkey.
Yeah, of course. The chickens may be winning, guys. You know, fried chicken is knocking off a lot of humans. I think it's sort of. It's
the ultimate revenge.
You know, if you think about it as a huge gang, you got to throw out some people to be cannon fodder, man. Yeah.
Well, that's what if the corn taking over the planet and, you know, running all the factories and destroying us and making us obese and fat and all that? What if it's all a grand plan by corn, wheat, and soy to kill off all the humans?
Hey, chickens love to eat corn.
Who's the idiot now, huh? Who's the idiot now?
It's chickens between. It's a collusion between the chickens and the corn.
Chickens of the cornbread.
That's what everyone's so busy talking about Russia that we didn't realize the chickens and the corn have been under our nose the whole time.
I know, just hiding out there in the field.
Out in plain sight.
Yep.
Build it and they will come.
I mean, they're in my fridge right now. What the heck? I mean, it's everywhere.
Well, I mean, one of the things too, though, you got to remember is one of the reasons that happened, that we're using so much corn, is because we hate Cuba. You know, we used to use a lot of cane sugar, and that used to be a fairly dependable crop for them for sales and everything. And we used to have, like, Coca-Cola had real cane sugar in it, just like Mexican Coca-Cola does now.
Right.
So, you know, then they switched it over. You know, when we were kids, you didn't drink as much pop. You know, I don't think you felt like you needed as much pop when you were a kid. We used to drink them itty bitty bottles, and that was like a big deal.
That is true.
You know, me and Andy at the station, clipping off the cap, and you know, reusable bottles. Yeah.
James, what the heck?
The cord's attacking him.
And we just lost
No.
Attack of the killer cod.
I knew it! The feminists are trying to kill us with corn!
I knew it was the colonel in the bedroom with the cob.
Oh man, oh man, oh man.
My kid loves these. We husk them, and it's the white corn. It's just.
So, anyways, getting back. Thanks, James. Ariel. So, if quality of life is important, some people have extremely great quality of life for humans. Now, what factor determines quality of life as a species that it's thriving? I mean, right now, I would say a lot of us aren't thriving.
How about access to clean water? Access to fertile, farmable soil? Basic housing that's, you know, appropriate for your environment. Having enough clothing, having, you know, just your basics met. Being able to take care of yourself if you get sick or injured. I think those are kind of essential. Having meaningful vocation.
So if
I would say that it's not just that, but also like the probability of that continuance, like
right.
You know, like not just. I mean, we might be able to sustain that for today, but like, you know, kind of like what are our odds going forward?
That's such a good point, Stevie. That's what I would say. Is I think Americans and many people, we live with the fear of ruin, you know, hanging over our heads all the time. The fear of ruin is always there. That's why they get you with health care. That's why they scare you into getting insurance, because it's that fear of ruin. It's like you could be absolutely washed up the next day.
I think that's what Tim was talking about the hierarchy of needs. I guess might as well.
Yeah.
I think it's really important that you have it's a stable environment, you know, as far as housing, food, and finances go, and it's not quantity of life, it's quality of life. And you know, I don't know, man, I look at it as I raised a really groovy family, and that is sort of really important to me, and we didn't have a whole lot of money to do it, and so
yeah,
you know, I guess, you know, it's like we didn't have any money, so we had a party and invited a whole bunch of people from our book club and stuff. I took a weed whacker and went up into our field in the weeds, and I put a post in the middle and took a rope and walked around with a weed whacker and did a big circle and then built a little stage off this rise, and we did Midsummer Night's Dream. Everybody had to read a part or two.
That's awesome.
And so it was funny as hell, but it didn't cost nothing. You know, everybody kind of brought food and we all just hung out. But that's quality, you know.
Yeah.
But
that's
what's the number for it? If half our human population enslaved the other half just to maintain a high quality of life, is that a success?
No. Here's my answer to this. It's not based on the majority. It's based on how well does the least of us live. That's what it should be based on.
I like that one.
That's how I personally feel. Like that's my personal philosophy.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't saying that properly. And like, you know, I think we grew up. You know, we raised our kids with the library. You know, if you have facilities for people to just time.
Yes.
Time is what people need. You know, and to tell you honestly, you don't need to have half the people doing all the work. You could have all the people doing the work, but doing less work per week.
Exactly.
One second. ACOR is in.
Pay everybody
hold
for
on,
their weight.
Hold on. ACOR, can you do a sound check? Can you hear us?
Huh? Me?
Yeah, ACOR. She just joined, or he just joined. I don't know. Okay. I guess we can't hear you, ACOR.
Oh shoot, my eyes are about to come
out.
out.
Because I didn't grow up with a lot of money. We didn't grow up with tons of money. My mom hung the laundry out on the line. We half the time didn't have air conditioning in our house, and that was in the South. But I mean, we spent a lot of time outside. We played a lot of games. We made things up. We danced. We had a good time, and none of it cost a whole lot. It's funny. I think it's like almost Americans more and more, they get this idea that they have to spend a ton of money in order to make it real or have a good time. And I remember growing up
Also,
with that
time
a
is so
lot.
precious, so then you have to spend money and reward yourself for all your toil.
Yeah.
Well,
the fact is, like, the poorer you are, the less time you have, because you have to spend time, like, you know, doing things that, you know, rich people get to pay other people to do. I mean, I have to mow my own lawn. I have to clean my own house. I have to, you know, and you can't, you know, just if your stuff, it gets broken, you're the one that has to repair it. You're the one that has to do all this stuff. And when you think about how much time that you have to spend doing that, and the fact that you have to work twice as much to get half the money, that's what pisses me off so much. I would love to be able to take my time and be able to spend it like fixing these problems, but I can't because I'm so busy. My time is consumed with just surviving. You know, that is my dream, is to be able to focus my attention on this. You
They ought
know,
to be able to adjust to pay us all $15 an hour. They ought to be able to adjust and not cry it's going to be inflation or it's going to be this or that. They ought to be able to adjust.
Well, I like what somebody else said as far as 15 has gotten old. I mean, you know, every year that passes, 15 is sounded less and less. And
well, then cities and states could take it further. But
I think, well, that's why I like the idea of more, of employing more people, less hours to do things. You know, I just think you figure out how to do it. You know, there are people with bigger brains than I that can sit down and figure out your working population and figure out where near employment is, figure out what that would pay to, you know, the median payment, and figure out what the minimum wage is, and just sort of set it and reset our whole economy, because we're in a position where, you know, I mean, it's great to ride a bike if you live in a city. You know, I mean, in Portland, riding a bike would be like kick ass because it's a nice town to bike in, but other places here in the middle, you know, I remember as a kid, we rode by. I mean, that's the way we got around as kids, but, you know, we had all the time in the world, and you know, it was 3 o'clock in the morning. We could go sneak into the golf course and steal golf balls out of the ponds, and, you know, all kinds of cool stuff. You know, I mean, I think that having a park with just like a few adults around and like equipment, and quit like trying to organize every kid.
Yeah.
If kids just go there and meet and fight over their rules and all that stuff, and
Kevin wants in next.
That's what we need. Investments.
Kevin, go ahead.
Okay, I want to say a couple things here, and I'll let you respond, but let me say all I have to say here. Ariel, the one thing about the quality of life, well, it depends on your, it depends on how you feel life. All right, now just on say what you want.
We can't hear you, Kevin.
Huh?
Kevin, you're fading bad.
Sorry, bro.
I
Try
will go
again.
down.
Try again.
Hear me?
Good.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. What did you hear of what I said?
Not much.
Not much. Well, I wanted to say the quality of life that Ariel was talking about is defined person to person. What provides quality of life for that person? You can't just do a cookie cutter and think it provides quality of life for everybody. I mean, you can give a basic, bare minimum standard of what provides quality of life, like good food, place to work that provides you enough to live off of and do what you want, transportation, stuff like that. But when there's a mix. Like Ariel's right to a degree, but then she kind of goes past it, and that's where I kind of think Stevie makes up for it, because Stevie talks about the economic, having that money gives you economic freedom to do other things that you want to do because you're not worried about work or making your bills and all that because you have it covered. Okay, you can kind of see the balance that has to be struck between there. And then how Bram was saying, it has to be, how does the least among us live? Alright, it has to be a mixture of those. It can't be taken any one direction, otherwise you're leaving a lot of people out. That was just my 2 cents there.
Alright, we got you on that. Good job, Kevin.
I think we need to learn to negotiate like Nazis. They had their chance at 15. Now it should be 18. And if they,
I was thinking about
It should be 22, like if we accounted for inflation. That's what it really should be.
Yeah.
25.
So that's what I was saying. And I just
30.
think, but reestablishing what a base week, what the base hourly week is, what a base week is hourly, you know, so that after that you get paid time and a half, you know, whatever, and people can do it. You know, you can choose to work 6 days a week if you want to, but you know, to carry on a basic life and have time, you have a 32-hour week or whatever. To share what work we have is a good idea. To give everybody a chance at being able to work that can work, and supporting people that can't. I mean, you know, and supporting people's health, and making sure that they, you know, that the housing is healthy, you know, and if it isn't healthy, you get after the landlords, or you rebuild the houses, you figure out something insurance-wise. I just think that there's a bigger hand that could be taken just by changing the way we think about work and time. Because right now, we fought hard to get a 40-hour work week back in, you know, P.J. McGuire, Gomper's time. You know, that was the cigar maker and the carpenter were the ones that fought for the 40-hour week. And the idea was you have 8 hours of work, you have 8 hours of sleep, and you have 8 hours of time to be with your family. And it's a family values thing, I think, you know, and it's just a fair thing. Why have a system that you work some people to death, and rather than working people 60-hour weeks, you can work 2 people 30-hour weeks, and you know, and pay them like they worked a 40, and everybody would be happy. You know, and the system can handle it. It's just a rejiggering of the price structure. You know,
productivity.
And the fact is, you look at the McDonald's worker and whatever that one meme is that was out from that one woman or that guy that worked at a Burger King in like the Netherlands, and he was making $20-some an hour, and the hamburger was still the same, you know, basic price as in America. So I mean, it can be done. That they're just they're just pleading poverty where they don't need to be pleading poverty right now. The people that are rich are pleading poverty. You know, they've been getting sucking off the top. You know, it's like, I don't mind a crook, I just mind a greedy crook. You know, if you told me that every business agent, everybody that I worked for in Philly was connected to the mob somehow, I tell you, I don't really give a shit. The buildings were built union. The guys got to work. If they took a little off the top, I don't care because they weren't greedy about it. You know, and that's the way I think that the basic structure of man should be. Just don't be fucking greedy about it, and everybody will be fine. And you could work like a crazy man if you choose. It's just not. It's not going to be encouraged because it isn't healthy.
All right,
you know?
Bram, and then Stevie, and then Ariel.
From a productivity standpoint, okay, I like I said, I've taken economics, and they've found that when people work less, but at the same time have enough time for themselves to do what they enjoy doing, their productivity goes up. They might work less hours, but those hours actually become more productive. And I think that's a point that we completely miss here. At least those who run our companies here in the U.S. They completely miss this point, is that working people more hours does not equal more productivity. In fact, in most instances, it's actually less.
Yeah, they found that the 6-hour workday, like switching from the 8-hour to the 6-hour, increases productivity by on average like 40 to 50%.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Don't want people. They want people they can approach over.
Exactly. Well, they don't want empowered workers. That's for sure. And the fact is that it works well to have a system of some sort of structure to work that just makes sense.
Okay, Stevie, go ahead.
Well, I mean, like, when you think about it, time is really the most scarcest resource, because I mean, money is shit. You know, like, we can print it, create it, whatever we want money to be. But time, nobody gets sick on their deathbed and says, I wish I would have made more money. It's, I wish I would have had more time. I wish I would have taken the time to do these things. And when you're robbing people of time, that is the worst kind of theft, I think.
I agree with that. Ariel?
And it doesn't...
let Ariel go if she had something before.
Oh, I just wanted to add, I mean, the reason I gave a more broad-based answer is because it's a broad-based question of the basics and of what, you know, it takes to have essential quality of life. Now, maybe somebody's quality of life, like Kevin is saying, maybe that's not enough for them. Maybe they need the fancy car and the big house to feel happy. You know, maybe to them that means they've got what they feel like they really need. Well, you're kind of throwing me a little halfway under the bus here. I'm not trying to be too broad-based. I'm just saying that those are basic essentials that every human needs to have quality of life. I work my butt off. I have about 3 or 4 different jobs. I'm an astrologer, I run an eBay store, I'm a musician, I'm an artist, and I still don't have health care. So I don't want to hear about, oh, it's okay, you know. No, I don't have full quality of life. If I had medical care that I knew couldn't be taken away, I'd be so much happier, so much less stressed. I wouldn't worry about every little ache and pain becoming something bigger. And that's the reality of my day, every day, right now.
Okay,
and even if I get insurance, it's not going to change at all.
Let Kevin go. Yeah. Kevin?
I completely agree. I understand where you're coming from. All right. The only thing I was saying is that, okay, those basic things that you and all that, it's completely valid. You're I'm just saying, people, it doesn't have to do with, oh, I want a yacht or I want a fancy car.
Then what is it?
Some people like to travel. Some people have different. Some people like. I like to screw around with electronics.
Eric.
This is ridiculous.
Oh, what was that?
That was just Eric's phone. Go ahead.
All I'm
someone's. Oh, Eric, can you
Can I talk?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just hearing a lot of sound in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was blocking you out.
That was Eric.
Oh, I was just saying. Crap, I lost my. Where was I going with that? Just you can give them the basic qualities of life, but you can give let's just say you could have everything you possibly want to live, but you're still depressed because you can't really go after what your interests are. You know what I mean?
It's the omnivore's dilemma. The omnivore's dilemma. If you have every damn choice in the world, then it's very hard, to be happy because you're constantly wondering, well, should I have chosen that other thing?
Yes.
No, I'm saying like with people with their interests that can't pursue.
Well, in the future,
You know what I mean?
we probably
Like,
are going to have international travel, so people will have to hang up their idea about traveling all over the world all the damn time. That's just the truth. I mean, there are some things that just won't be possible. It'd be great to go to the moon, but a lot of people aren't going to get to do it. So if that's what your happiness is hinging on, well, damn, you're in trouble.
I think for every 100 pounds.
I'd have to say you're wrong about the traveling around the world thing, because you can look back hundreds of years. You don't need a fucking plane to travel around the world. When people wanted to travel, they built the damn boat. It's just we're gonna come up with a new way to get ourselves from point A to point B, no matter what you do.
I'm happy where I
can't
am.
just travel again.
I don't need to go across the world to be happy.
The tough thing about the tough thing.
All right, Lucas, go, and then Broken Carpenter.
Well, I was gonna say the tough thing about traveling the nations without airplanes is that you'll have to go by boat again, and if you wanted to go by sailing like the old-fashioned way, there's not any trees that are big enough to make those giant ships anymore. All the big trees that they used to make those ships out of on the East Coast and the West Coast that you can actually use that are waterproof that wouldn't sink, all those trees are gone. We don't have any more of those, because they used to use on the East Coast. They used to use whenever they came here, there were pine trees as tall as the sequoias and the redwoods, and they all got cut down, and now there's none that are even close because they cut them all down for lumber before they can get that big. And so if we wanted to travel using ships in the future, we'd have to start letting the trees grow longer and then create giant plywood ships that were able to be sealed, or we'd have to use big Titanic-like ships again that took weeks to get across the ocean.
Yep, I agree, Lucas. I have a friend in Oregon, and she's in a house that's over 100 years old, and she said on the ceiling you can see the old wood and how this whole length of the house was cut from a single tree. You'll never see that again.
All right, Broken Carpenter, go ahead.
I was going to say that one of the other things about time isn't just family, it is creativity. If you can make people food secure and healthcare secure in this country, you would see more new businesses start up. You would see more, small little things people do out of their garage, using, recycling stuff, doing interesting, creative stuff will come out of people that we have. We've always made the most money in this country out of our creativity and our ingenuity. And if we don't sort of get back into sort of the thoughts of engineering, the thoughts of sort of the arts, and because the arts and things like wood shop and all of that stuff that we did in high school, that's still sort of the industrial arts. It's still sort of important just from a basic understanding of how things go together, because it leads people to be the next, inventor of something really stupid that everybody, you hit your head and you thought, why didn't I think of that? It could come out of some guy's garage because he has a few extra hours every night,
Just
and it's the idea of if you can make people secure, you unleash something in people, and it isn't laziness. It's a want to do what they want to do, and different people have different wants, and some good, some bad. But I think the good overweighs the new renaissance.
So Ben, you go, and then I want to say something.
All right, so I just was going to say that basically, based from Coco's sort of leaning towards that, there's maybe there is a sort of common denominator or common thing that would make make people I don't know how it's phrased, satisfied and stuff. And and then Kevin, I think, was saying that it's basically subjective and up to the individual, depending on the individual. I see how both of that's true, but I kind of lean towards Coco's opinion about that. I think that's why the universal basic income providing people's basic.
That's what I've been wanting to say.
It's pretty cool. I mean, people's basic needs. Excuse me, is pretty cool. I just think there should be like a differentiation between needs and wants somehow, even though it's hard, arbitrary. But just that if you like tax people's needs, that makes more sense to me. Or like make people work, obviously extra for that. But then for them to have bread, that should be a given. But that's sort of my point. I know David. I was going to say, Glenn Fry on SiriusXM was actually in some interview, or there's some little clip from his interview. He just said, I just think that for anybody out there who's caring passionately about politics and things in the world, this was like way back, like over a dozen years ago. He's like, I think that, just think about the total amount of human happiness. So that was something I thought was a kind of interesting or a good point in relative to what you guys were saying. And then there was something else, but that's slipped my mind at this point.
All right. So me, then Stevie, then Forsaken. Okay, for me, I think it's a lot of, you can have a good small community and be sustainable, like a small town. You don't have to have a lot of money, costs can be low, everyone really pitches in, money stays within their system. The only problem is there are always places, towns, and cities across the state or even outside the state where you're taxed and that money goes outside and you just keep getting drained. That small community, that town that can sustain themselves well, end up getting drained and they can't get it back. And I think that's kind of when we keep allocating a lot of our money through taxes to fund things, things just keep getting worse and worse, and no matter how hard and how smart you end up doing things, because we end up trying to help out other communities and towns that aren't doing well, and feeding money into those areas sometimes, but not all the time, because sometimes they're also being drained as well. And I think it just keeps going to the point where we want, as I guess not we, but politicians want the resources to go into the bigger, larger cities to sustain them and not necessarily sustain what's already working in the smaller communities. Anyways, that's my thought. Stevie?
Well, I think we're basically this is kind of boiling down to and now this is not my strong suit, but the laws of physics, basically. We're talking about energy, we're talking about we want we want things to change, we want to set things in motion, and it's just if we want to do these things, we just gotta go back to our science, I'm trying to find my notes on it. I guess I'll chime in later because I gotta find my notes on this. This is, I don't know.
All right, go ahead, Forsaken.
Okay. Getting back to the original question, and that was, I think, what would be needed to make everyone feel content, or how did you phrase it originally? I don't know, but
successful. That was how you originally phrased it.
Okay, well, I think there's two levels we're talking about here, and one is what would be the things that would take the stress off of most people, and there you would be making sure that they have enough food, they have shelter, they have health care, they have their needs taken care of, and that would remove a lot of stress. And then where other people were talking about traveling and that's I think where you bring into it more happiness, or depending on what your thing is. Like Ariel said, she's not interested in travel. Neither am I. But I have my own dreams of what I would want that would be fulfilling, but you can't get to that without taking care of those basic levels first. You remove the stress of, surviving from day to day, and then you can start thinking about what things would actually bring you pleasure rather than just take the stress of surviving off.
So, I think that we're like the Pink Floyd song, money. They're not giving any away. It's not any surprise that they're not giving any away. The Medicare we get now, the coverage we do get now, or whatever. And any of that, all of that is all just provisions and things that have been won over time, and like it's things that like people put pressure on politicians and whatever over to give us what we got. So they're not just going to suddenly just be like, you know, oh, we'll just be really super compassionate and you know, whatever, but and do it by themselves. So I think I just want to make that point.
So, okay, when we think about the medieval days and there are kings and queens, and the goal of the king and queen was to get money and maintain power and expand the kingdom, I guess. And also, in some way, to stay in power is to make certain people in their rule happy. Now, when we come to current days, what's the purpose of the tax money? Is it to do the same ends, but...
I have something to say on this.
Okay, go ahead. I was going to keep going, but go ahead.
I'm sorry for interrupting you.
That's right.
If you want to continue, you can.
Go ahead.
Okay, the one thing I want to say about the taxes, though, is just let's clear some stuff up. State taxes fund state spending, but federal taxes don't fund federal spending. They don't directly fund it. Basically, what the federal tax does, it's just a way of redistributing real resources. Because let's say I tax everybody in the country that's poor, you know, 20% or something. Well, that's 20% of income they don't have as purchasing power, and then that means they can't buy those resources. So I've effectively freed up those resources to be purchased somewhere else. And since I'm the government, I can make that money and put it to whoever I want and move those resources. It's a way of provisioning things.
Yeah. So
I'm just saying, in a way, they kind of fund it. I mean, they don't directly fund it; they just redistribute. You know, they don't. Effectively, the taxes, the state or the federal taxes, just get destroyed effectively.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
The point I was trying to make.
What I'm saying?
Yep, I get it. So the point I'm trying to make is why have this system, federal tax system, at all? And what's the point of having it? Okay, go ahead, Bram.
The point is that exactly what Kevin just said. That is the point. That is the only point. The only point for taxes is to basically be a means of leveling the playing field. The way we've been utilizing taxes, though, has been completely and utterly wrong for quite a long time.
I agree with Grant.
We should definitely make more companies lost more subsidies.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's where we're going at. So we basically went backwards in time, and the people in power are the kings and queens. It's just not by lineage.
Oh, but the thing is that it's worse now because the rich people now have way more than the kings and the queens of the past ever have had. Like you can put every royal person from the past all together and like add all their wealth together and account for the value of money now as compared to the values of money then. And our lower ends of the spectrum, rich people now are way richer than any of them ever were. You know, based on like the quality of life and the amount of wealth worldwide they own. Like 5 people own half the world basically. I mean, that's insane. Like we really do have kings.
Yeah, could you really say that with the little crummy wages that little serfs or whatever it was back then would get? It was, or you know.
Well, we basically have serfdom now. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of people that are out there doing work for no money.
It's economic serfdom, but the thing about it is, there is an argument to be made that the federal government can do some things more efficiently than your local government.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They can help people to get power lines to their, your little town having to pay for their own power lines and things would be, big time. So you need to spread that out a little bit more. And so, and we're gonna move in. I think that we're gonna start getting closer, if anything. Because of the shrinkage that Snork was talking about. I mean, we're gonna end up with sort of it's going to be re-homestead, or not re-homestead, but there's going to be a huge migration of people, and whatever time they decide is going to be an interesting thing. I mean, how many times will we rebuild New Orleans, especially seeing as what they did was screwed all the little people out of their homes that were perfectly, never had even any of the water on them, but suddenly their homes were condemned, and then the developer moves in and buys a bunch of property. And it was just really shady dealings to sort of gentrify parts of New Orleans, or at least that was my understanding of what happened.
Well, that was a move on the New Orleans thing. That was the rich people bought the rich people bought the ghetto because it was up higher than all the rest of it, and the water didn't come up there, and so they had it condemned so that they could take it over, and they sent all the poor people away, and the poor people had to come inland. But the thing is, they were only delaying the inevitable, because they're only going to have their houses for an extra 10 years.
Well, like I say, I mean, it's a matter of how many times are we going to sort of build bigger levees and things for these communities, these low-lying communities. There's got to be a time,
So Kelly wants to get something in, broken copper, because she wants to.
I mean, I was just real quick. Centralia, Pennsylvania, the big mine fire under it. It's still burning forever. It's going to burn, and they had to condemn the town. They had to move them.
All right,
we have 3 of those that I know of in the United States. Those coal fire mines underground.
Is Kelly still on?
Yeah, I'm here. Okay, I was just waiting for Kevin to finish. I know he has a hard time being heard. Observing it, when we're all talking, Kevin, just so you know, it's just hard. We don't hear you as clearly. So I don't think nobody's purposely interrupting you. But anyway, yes. So, okay. Bear with me a bit. I've got a bit of a headache, but I really wanted to make this point. So just, answer after I finish. Okay. So the other night I made a very, I guess you could call it prejudiced comment about a whole generation. And I thought a lot about it afterwards because Bram called me out on it. And I do this sometimes, and I always hesitate to say it because I know we should never address one group as all the same. But I kind of said the baby boomers as a generation. It was kind of based on a comment that Roseanne DeMauro made at the People Summit, and she was kind of talking, I think, mainly to the millennials, but she was like, don't let them tell you don't know what you're talking about or whatever, that, it's my generation that kind of screwed things up. But anyway, it was good that Bram called me out on it, and it made me realize something that, I think with any prejudice any of us might have, and I know this isn't against a race, it's something I said about not a whole generation, but a lot of them, it's, I am projecting my own personal experience. So I'll just say that right there. I was raised by my grandparents because my parents didn't step up to the plate, and I have a lot of feelings on that. So it's personal for me. But the greater point is that, so there's an author that came out recently with a book, and I saw it and I thought, wow, he must have really shitty parents like me too, because it's basically hold on a second, Gibney, excuse me. His book is titled "A Generation of Sociopaths: How the Baby Boomers Betrayed America," and it has, of course, mixed reviews. I also want to, okay, hold on a second. So I think he makes a lot of points that are obviously just very biased also. There was another article, now this was in Business Insider, and basically it's just talking about how, let's see, over the past 40 years, the U.S. government has done precious little to invest in the future. instead of spending money on education, our government has repeatedly chosen to cut taxes instead of investing in infrastructure. But I mean, it's basically saying that, and this person saying the baby boomers who have controlled this country since the 80s are a selfish, entitled generation. It's not your imagination, and it didn't come out of nowhere. Now, again, I think it's too overgeneralizing, but I do think that there is an aspect, as Bram said, that it's just kind of its history. It's the way things happened. We had the deregulation of Wall Street in the 80s, so they largely benefited from that. But so just recently, there was the vote in California to to block the single payer vote. Did you guys hear about that or talk about that? And so I thought to myself, those damn baby boomers again. But no, I'm kind of kidding. But actually, it was a bunch of Gen Xers make up the assembly. So I think my larger point was really just that I feel like our society, a lot of people that have theirs and aren't worried about other people. It's not a community thing. It's, they got what they need, and they're not thinking about the community as a whole. So I just wanted to say that, it's of course not an entire generation. It's just an observation from my point of view, being very close to my grandparents and hearing a lot from them for 45 years about how life was and how things were. And it seems like we have a lot of, whatever generation you're in, it doesn't really matter. We have a lot of entitled people that act entitled, and that I have mine and I don't need to worry about everybody else. And so yeah, sorry if I'm kind of all over the place, but that's my point. And if anybody wants to add to that or has any thoughts, other than that I was being bigoted against a generation, I realized that. So it was a good lesson.
Well, as the youngest person in the group, I can say I like whenever you make this kind of generalizations, I don't necessarily disagree with them. I mean, I disagree with it because it's a generalization, and I know not all the baby boomers are that way. But it is very true that the people who have been running things for the last 40, 50 years have been running things into the ground, and they've left the millennials and the Gen Z and people that are going to come after us with a burning planet that is completely going to be uninhabitable because the baby boomers and Gen Xers that are still running the planet aren't doing anything about it. They got us into this mess, and they refused to get us out because of money.
Right,
and it's very different, and it's very, very upsetting to the younger generations.
In the very cringy moments, for me, or like when Hillary Clinton standing up there, well, I worked through college. Yeah, okay, lady. That's when the dollar you made went 10 times as far. You have no idea what you're talking about. You're out of touch. And as I said before, I see it around here where I live, people that bought their houses before the housing bubble, they're much better off. And it's just that attitude of I have mine and I don't need to worry about anybody else. And I think that it has been a societal shift. Whatever generation you're in, it doesn't really matter. It's just been instead of taking care of the community, it's, me, myself, and I. And I guess one other thing I want to say, because I think it was Surreal in the comments, said something about, and again, it's overgeneralizing, but the baby boomers, that the younger ones, I don't know if he meant this, but he said there were different factions. My experience is the younger ones are a little bit, I think because they were teenagers in the 60s, they're a lot more open-minded, just as a general. But the older ones, like Hillary and Trump's, are a little bit older, are a lot more conservative. But anyway,
James and Ariel had something they wanted to say, and I wanted to too. Okay. Carpenter.
Go ahead, Ariel. Go first.
Oh, well, it's kind of interesting you're bringing that up, Kelly. I actually, maybe a month or two ago, I had read several articles about baby boomers and the effect that they're kind of having on the U.S. and the economy, etc., the environment. It was very interesting. Actually, I was reading about all the different generations, like the generation groups, you know, the Gen X, the forgotten generation, all the different ones, and the progression of it. And, you know, the kind of feeling, though, is that even though we kind of see them as, you know, basically group, and what Surreal is saying, yeah, there's different groups of them and different waves, you know. But the big thing that's happening is, even though a generalization, they might have been kind of the most wasteful and really sort of just, they got to benefit from the bounty and from, you know, all the resources, and they sort of burned through them like they never thought that there would be an end. And maybe they didn't, you know, really. I mean, there's a little bit of that naivety that they kind of thought, well, this will just keep going forever. Everything's great. You know, we're going to have this. Our kids are going to have this, our grandkids, without realizing that they may not have it. But the basic thing that's coming down now is that even though they enjoyed that in their relative youth, they're going to get hit hard. They're the ones that are really suffering and about to really suffer, because a lot of them either don't have their jobs anymore, they don't make the kind of money they used to, they don't have the good health insurance they used to, and a lot of them are either moving back in with their adult children or really, really falling on hard times. So actually, the biggest thing that I was reading in these articles about the baby boomers is that they're going to be really screaming for healthcare and for all these social programs that they may have been very against when they were younger. It's kind of interesting how it's flipping, but they're going to be a huge burden on all of us. And Lucas is right. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a huge generational burden on the younger people. That's for sure. There's a lot to it. Yeah.
So I want to say a quick thing, and then James, and then Kevin. So I just want to say, throughout when I was growing up, when I read news articles and they were actually valid, that any type of policy that took place, it always stated in the article, who's going to pay for it? Oh, the next generation, the kids, they're going to pay for it. So don't worry about it. And that's just been the current trend for the last 2 or 3 decades, that the kids are going to pay for it. So here we are, the kids are paying for it. Anyways, James, go ahead, and Kevin, and then Broken Carpenter had his hand up for a while, but I think he was going for a different topic.
All right. So this kind of leads back to socialism, and I think we were talking about that. And the thing is I used to argue with conservatives about socialism, that our infrastructure is built on that. The sidewalk you walk on, the road you walk on, the lights, so you guys don't get in traffic jams, and this is why we have taxes, blah, 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 blah. But then you have people in these public servant positions that aren't doing anything. And it almost seems like they're doing it to show that government doesn't work. It's almost like the Republicans, in my opinion, don't do anything to make it seem like government doesn't work. They want us. I think their agenda, or part of their agenda, is for them to give us the perception. They want us to think that the government doesn't work. It doesn't do anything for them. So there's potholes, there's bridges that are falling, etc. And then, as far as the quality of life, it circles back to socialism, which for some, like UBI, universal basic income, which just happened in Hawaii, that's going to create, and the studies have shown that that's going to create a lot of different opportunities for people. In other words, their basic, they'll have more options. They'll feel the joy will be raised, and the pain will be a little lower. The other thing is to Kelly's point, it's really simple. And I want to post this picture. It's just my own picture, if you don't mind. It'll take 2 seconds. Watch this. Okay, there it is. It says, "I'm truly sorry for what will happen on our planet, and I wish there was more I could have done, but I gave it my all. We were all done. Very sorry." Okay, so what that means is that I accept the fact that it's my fault. And you know, for a lot of us, but there are people that Kelly's talking about that don't feel that way. I've talked to these people, and they're everywhere, where they feel entitled. I get mine. There's no remorse. There's no empathy. They just don't care. Screw you. And sadly, and factually and sadly, a lot of them are religious. I mean, I hate to say this because they think Armageddon's coming, so they're fine. You know.
Well, they think that everyone will get what they think that God's giving everyone what they deserve, so they use that as a justification for having more than others.
Yeah, I basically have put this equation up all the time. For not for all, but for most, it seems like they use religion as an excuse to be an asshole, an excuse to kill people, an excuse to not take care of somebody next to you, an excuse to have more than you have. God said I'm supposed to be richer than everybody in the world. But what that, I don't really think, some people are just shitheads. But in a nutshell, in a super big, like little tiny nutshell, we're at the point, and Ariel's made this point, we are really at this point where we need some serious changes. I mean, it's so socially, physically, I mean, this needs a big 180, and it's got to happen in little pieces, you know.
So what you were talking about that attitude is, I think that's why that ties into what I wanted to say about the generations. I think the baby boomers are like divided, for me, partially between like hippies and like really sort of too far the other way, which is like uptight, like conservative, you know, kind of that strict family unit kind of brainwash thing of the 50s or something, like keeping on with that. But I think that what you're talking about, that attitude about entitled and just sort of self-absorbed or whatever it is about that generation generally, I think the difference goes back to that attitude and what you guys are all talking about, and that like the people before that, the post World War II and the Greatest Generation, the Depression era people, they all felt that the sting, the real sting of like not having enough, and the real dangers of that, like that was very real for them. And so when the baby boomers came, I think what makes baby boomers is that they never felt that or lived that whatsoever. And so then that's why I always thought that the baby boomers, being partially hippie, we're going to bring good things, and we're always going to, like, once they got a hold of the reins, everything was going to go better, and it was just like this better and better thing that was going to happen. But just as a history, you know, you don't always see progress. There's also lulls. There's also dark ages. There's also bad, you know, maybe that's not going to happen because like the baby boomers do seem to have a lot of problematic things and things they can't get over, and just cluelessness or disconnectedness, or like trying to compensate for the disconnectedness by pretending that they don't.
All right, Kevin, and then any last words for Kelly, and then Broken Carpenter.
Hello.
Oh.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, for a second. Sorry. Go ahead, Kevin.
Okay, I wanted to play a clip real quick here. It kind of puts it into a frame of mind how we need to think about this. And it's a historical clip. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Cross of Iron speech. Well, here it is.
This world in arms is not spending money alone. It is spending the sweat of its laborers, the genius of its scientists, the food of its children. The cost of one modern heavy bomber is this. A modern brick school is more than 36. It is 2 electric power plants, each serving a town of 60,000. Of concrete paper. Pay for a single fighter plane with 500,000 bushels of wheat. We pay for a single destroyer with new homes that could have housed more than 8,000 people. This is, I repeat, the best way of life to be found on the road the world has been taking. This is not a way of life at all, in any true sense. Under the cloud of threatening war, it is humanity hanging from a cross of iron.
Yeah, that's just what I want you guys to hear.
On your mic's muted.
So can you We barely heard it. Is all kind of clear and not clear. Can you post it on live chat?
I can send you the link for it.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes, if you could do that.
Okay, 1 second. 1 second.
Well,
Go ahead and carry on the
So,
conversation and send the link to you, and you can bring it up in a moment.
okay.
so
All right,
like,
Worker Carpenter, you've been holding for a while, and then we'll do Stevie, Forsaken, then Kelly. Sorry again, Kelly.
so I
Oh,
was,
Joanne.
I was, you know, there's a couple things here. One is I was born on the very, very ass end of what they consider the baby boom, okay? And I had older siblings. My parents were like Depression era. Well, and my grandpa definitely was like Depression era. They were Depression era, World War II, you know, greatest generation. First off, that's marketing for old people, you know, it really is. It wasn't, it was great because we bombed the crap out of Europe and we got to rebuild it, you know, and that's the reason why it was great. But it's a mixture, man. It's a mix. Everybody screws up the system in their own way, you know. The Depression era people made sure that the greatest generation had some sort of after the war there was education, there was opportunities, you know, and there was definitely a boom because of the added economy, but it was also because people were thinking, you know, we were being more creative and thinking in different ways. And that brought on, you know, the space program, whatever, you know, and rather than pump our, much like I think what his point is, we've been pumping money into the war machine, which doesn't make any sense because it was, you know, you got to look at it. It was Ronald Reagan, you know, Richard Nixon was willing to do single payer. Ronald Reagan would upside down the tax system, in, you know, between him and then we had the boomers come in and they became these people that protested war and stuff. So many of them became yuppies, the young upwardly professional assholes, and they were the ones that sort of vultured because there wasn't as much as time went on. You know, we weren't the amount of the economy didn't just tick along like it did after the war, and we stopped paying taxes to sort of keep our thing going. So it is really sort of, it's a mixture, man. I mean, of boomers, and definitely, you know, the younger generation can be mad. You know, there's no doubt. I have, you know, I agree with James. We have a responsibility, you know. But Papa Bush was drilling holes into Texas before I was born, you know. So there was always been somebody, and it's, you know, we got to just work together, I guess. And I just figure my job is to sort of make it a little bit better as time goes on.
My point to this is what I was trying to tell Kelly, is that there's no time for blame. We can't, I mean, this to be pointing fingers at this point makes no sense, and it's just a waste of time. What we need to do is just get together and work on these together.
It's your fault. All right, go ahead, Stevie.
Oh, take care, guys.
Oh, you're taking off, Kelly?
Yeah.
Or Joanne.
Kelly.
Oh, good night, Joanne.
Bye, Joanne. Have a great weekend.
I hope that answer your question, Kelly.
What? Oh, I'm sorry.
No. Did you want to say something before you go, Joanne?
Yeah. No. On my way out. I mean, there really are not even any generations are fabricated. We're born on a we're not born in batches. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's just another device to divide us.
Completely agree.
You can actually Google, there are people who have written about this. Yeah. And Anyway, I'm really tired too. I'm just gonna.
All right. Have a
That's
good
a great
weekend.
point.
Good night.
Good
Night.
night,
Good night, Joanne.
Night. Have a great
Is,
weekend.
do you want me to? Do we want to wrap up this topic? Is Stevie on something different or?
Well, it's kind of on the same topic. This is about earlier, like when I was saying about the physics. I mean, because when you talk about like power, and this is the thing, like they have so much power, and they this is what they attack us on. And in order to calculate power, if you look at the laws of physics, I've got the calculations right here, and power is equal to work divided by time. So what do they have us do? They keep us busy with work, and they take away our time, you know. And if you go through the list, and each one builds on the last one, but basically, if you look at the laws of physics, you can calculate how to overthrow power. So I mean, it gets really messy when you think about like political parties and all this stuff. And this was just something that helped me so much, like just to clarify and like strip away all of like the excess and like the stuff that was really just kind of like unimportant, you know. And when you look at like when you force, when they try our power of force, of what we can do, what we can move, you know, they divide us up divide the people, because, you know, basically divide the masses, and then you negate the force, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I don't know, it's something, you know, it's kind of a little complex to, like, sit and explain, but, like, it's not that complex. It just takes time to explain it. But if you look at the laws of physics, basically, we can overthrow power.
Oh, we get it.
Aria?
I like it, Steve.
All right. Sometimes I'm a little bad at explaining things, and it gets a little off topic, but yeah.
I really like it. No, it's funny. You know, you're a Libra, and so was Gandhi, and you know he had the same approach. Kind of funny, maybe out even knowing is what you know, because he was really leveraging, you know, people's work and their products and the things that the English wanted against them. I mean, it was an economic war that he waged, and that's why, you know, he didn't have to fire any shots. It's like, well, we got stuff they want. We got dye, we got textiles, we got tea, we got spices, we got all these things that they want. So yeah, you're so right. I mean, you're really onto something with that. That's a true thing. And you know, it's kind of like you wonder in this new time, you know, in our modern times, you know, how we could sort of figure out a similar, you know, such a similar way to deal with it, you know, where it's really like, look, we've got something that these people want. How can we really withhold it from them and either freeze or starve them to death?
Unions.
With oxygen.
Well, right now, no.
Unions.
No
like that's what, like in England, Corbyn's manifesto was every industry should have the right to unionize, and because if there's one thing a corporation is scared of, it's a union.
Right. Yeah.
Also the problem is everyone's afraid to stand up to power. There's not enough unity to fight back. I mean, all they have to do.
Yeah, Carpenter.
I was going to say, we need union leaders that are willing to go to jail again. Is what we need.
That's it.
You know, we used to have union leaders that didn't freaking scare. They'd say, "Okay, bring it on, Big Daddy. I'll get some lawyers and we'll fight you in court." But you know, we're going to have 1 million of us. Try getting a jury. You know.
I mean, look at Hillary Clinton's campaign. Well, Hillary Clinton's campaign was about dividing the people, and what was it? What was it? Change, incremental change. Let's do it over a long period of time so we can negate the force and just, you know, the mass of people, just kind of just wipe it away. I mean, if you look at it, you can, especially Hillary Clinton and the 48 Laws of Power. Oh my gosh, like she is textbook. You can calculate every single move she makes.
Well, that's why it's such a good thing that she lost to Donald Trump and that Donald Trump became president. I mean, it's the best thing that could have happened, honestly, for the environment, because, and like Dave Anthony made this point on the Jimmy Dore show a couple of weeks back. He was saying it's a blessing that we got Donald Trump, because now you have 60 cities saying they're going to be carbon neutral by 2045, and or by 2030 or something like that. It's like that would have never happened under Hillary. It would have all been pragmatism and bullshit, and it would have just been delaying the inevitable burning of the planet, because everyone would be like, oh, it's okay because the Democrat won, and she says she's going to help the environment, even though she's actually pushing fracking. And so everyone's going to count on her legislating pro-environment policies, and they're not going to change their personal lives. They're going to think they're going to be forced to change. Whereas with Donald Trump, people are taking the initiative to do it themselves.
Hillary Clinton never said she was supporting fracking.
Hey, I will tell you. Let me give you this to you as something to make you feel good, and that is, I worked. Bernie comes to Yakima, of all places. He comes to Yakima. That's how many stops Bernie was making it. He made 4 stops in Washington in one day, and did the stand-up speech. And he came in and he was brilliant. But the whole thing was put on by just normal people. I mean, he had like a couple road people. He had a couple of people that were, like one local person, and then, another person that they brought in, plus the 2. So it was really sort of streamlined because it was all people power. I walked through the line. I walked along the outside of the line, and with clipboards. My wife had the clipboards. I went around with a thing of cookies, and I bribed people. Well, I gave everybody a cookie, but it was like I went around and I says, cookies for Bernie, and we did that thing where I had the green bandana on, the tie-dye, and I was just huckstering for people to take these clipboards and make calls from in the line to people, to other states for Bernie. It was sort of just this big manpower thing that they looked at, and people just did it. They had a great time, I told them, you'd have like 4 young girls. I walk up, I pick out one of them because I could always pick out one, and I'd say, you're like the leader or something, or maybe you aren't the leader, but you're gonna be today. And y'all are what you're gonna do is you're gonna take turns and see who can get Bernie voters on the phone, and do that. So it was just to get the mark off a whole lot of names really quick. And it was because it was people power.
Yeah.
You could feel it. And that is the difference between him and Hillary. And when you have a movement of any kind behind any one person, there are a lot of things can happen, but it's got to be the right person. And it's got to have auxiliary things like they were saying. We got to have union leaders willing to go to jail. We got to have, sort of not unrest, but show an audacious display of unhappiness. Let's put it that way.
So, sorry, I fear I kind of made things worse because Joanne was really bothered by the whole generational dividing thing. And she's right, which is part of why I said that, we all can only really see things from our own bubbles unless we really try very hard to get outside of that. So we all project our, experience onto things. But I guess
it could be the same thing for us. Maybe like 30, 40 years, people are blaming us for what's happening.
I'm sure they will be.
But I think so. I mean, I'm just looking at it historically. Like we went from the New Deal, which was about kind of helping everybody, to all these policies, later. Now, so that's just, those are facts, whether who's to, as far as placing blame, I agree that it doesn't do any good to place blame, in the past, but we should learn from the mistakes, or we just, are doomed to repeat it. I mean, as far as like, just a society with an attitude of, me, myself, and I versus community working, everyone working together for, the better of the community. So I think if we don't learn from those things, then we just repeat it. I mean, I don't know. That's just.
I think. I was agreeing to just say that yes, it is a continuum. So there is no. We all sort of, everybody owes in their time. You know what I mean? When your time is up and your time, you're about to pass
Snork had
away.
something he wanted to say real quick. Snork?
Yeah, I'm a baby boomer, and I do believe that the baby boomers have done more damage than probably 10 to 15 other generations could ever do again in the future. The amounts and types of damage, if they do, they're doing something completely irresponsible. But I just think that as they have to deal with the problems that the baby boomers will leave them, that most of the public won't even see for another 30 years, that they'll become more and more of a hated generation. Now, the baby boom lasted from like 46 to 1960, and it is several groups. The group right after World War II I feel are extremely greedy. And they were given the idea that God shone a light on them and nothing they could do would be wrong. Wow. And I actually hear them say that. So, in the case of many, they have the feeling that go ahead and pollute all you want. God will fix it if it gets really bad because he won't let us ever have a catastrophe. And, they continue. Well, in fact, up until 1999, there was also the theory that they didn't really need to worry about polluting anything because the world wasn't going to last past 2000. Yeah, for you youngsters, I'm not joking.
No, I
other groups, Snork, what would you say if you, I don't know, continue with that? You were saying the group right after World War II versus.
Well, afterwards, the ones of us that were born closer toward 60, we grew up seeing the hippies complain about what was going on. We grew up when ecology first became an issue. Many of us are more ecologically responsible than those that came before us. And again, the attitude was prior to us that God will fix anything. Just go ahead and you can find it. It's yours. If it's something that's going to be depleted for the future generations, and they really didn't think anything was going to be depleted, but it was kind of like we got here first. It's ours.
It's almost like the manifest destiny idea in a way. It's almost like that same feeling coming back around.
Yeah.
The sad thing is that the whole God will fix it mentality is still here today. I honestly, I feel like it's just a way of it's an excuse that people use to abdicate themselves of any responsibility. That way they don't have to change anything they do and they don't have to take responsibility for their actions. Just like doomers and it's like, because they're the toxic optimists, and it's just like the doomers as well. Because like doomers say, well, we're screwed anyway, so we might as well have a party and burn up all the fossil fuels and just ruin the environment and not care. And and that's their way of saying, I'm not going to take any responsibility for my actions or for anybody else's, and I'm not going to do shit to fix it. I'm just going to do my best to screw over everybody else, and then say that it's all of our faults. And then on the flip side, you have people that say God will fix it, or that everything will work out okay, or that they have faith. And and they're the people that are so optimistic that they think that they don't have to change it, everything will just work itself out and be all happy with rainbows and unicorns.
All right, go ahead, Ariel.
Oh wow, James put up that sign again, Lucas, because it's hard to believe that you're 18. I think we might need proof at some point.
Yeah, I need to see your ID, man. This just does not make sense at all.
But I agree, and
don't show your ID. Don't show your ID.
I grew up having to go to church, and I got kicked out of Sunday school literally for asking questions like that about why we weren't being more responsible about the environment and such. They don't generally want to hear things like that, and there is that idea, and there literally are still today now many, many, many Christians that really think that Israel needs to go full-blown crazy and blow the world up because that's going to fulfill prophecies and all. I mean, there's really some crazy shit out there. And
I know.
Yeah.
I've been to the churches. I've been to my friend's church whenever they were saying that Jesus was going to come down to Israel and breathe fire and smite everyone with his sword tongue.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, they really do believe that it's like you know, that they think that you can just do whatever you like to the planet or to anything and it's just all going to work out. And also you have a lot of people that do have that idea that, you know, as long as you just pray that everything will come out right. And it's like, and I'm not beating anybody down for praying or putting out, you know, good intentions, but you also have to act and you have to use your mind and you have to use your common sense.
Yeah, prayer without action doesn't do a thing. You know,
no, I mean
it's the whole idea of asking something for nothing. You know, it's like if prayer really worked, then we wouldn't have hunger. You know, there wouldn't be a million starving children over in Africa right now. We wouldn't have 40 million people in poverty in the United States. I wouldn't have failed, you know, 2 classes in college 2 years ago.
It's hard to believe as smart as you are.
Okay, you are 18.
Maybe you're just too smart for the system, Lucas. Some people really are.
Well, it was because I was working and in marching band and in choir and in college all at the same time.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, watch what you're saying. It could go on your permanent record.
Yeah.
Yeah, this stuff is recorded.
Yeah, man. You know, everybody's got one, brother. Don't worry about it. You know, unless you want to work for the freaking CIA, who the hell cares?
They all spy on their wives and everything. It's like if you were to check their permanent records, they're not clean either.
You know, so, I mean, you know, I just figure at this point, you're permanent schmerminants. You know, we're out with there already know everything.
Well, that's like my whole idea. It's like you're gonna hack into my webcam. What are you gonna see? You know, it's like you're gonna see me naked. Ooh, big whoop. You know, something that a dozen other people have seen since I've been born.
You'll be bored. I'll tell you that. It'll be boring.
Oh yeah.
My webcam and they're psychologists.
Well, that's why you add in that music.
Yeah.
Okay, so listen. Hold on, Lucas.
Yes.
We are amazed. You're 18. That's fantastic. You're very savvy when it comes to politics and world events. But I hope to God that there's other things you're doing, bro. I hope you have a motorcycle, or maybe you're. I mean, when I was a kid, we used to build skateboard ramps, you know, and stuff like that. You know, other things. There's other enjoy life besides this chaos that you're in right now. I mean,
well, I have a garden. You know, that's okay. That's not for me.
That's my.
But do you have a garden gnome?
I do not have a garden gnome. My garden is not big enough. If I had a gnome, that would be several less inches for vegetables.
No, get a garden.
I got 3 of them. One of them has a little spotlight.
No, Lucas, my advice to anyone would be learn how to do things, learn how to sew, learn how to cook, learn how to plant things, you know, real life stuff that most people these days don't even know. They don't even know how to cook. Even if you gave them the raw materials, they don't even know how to put it together. You know, it's those real life skills that we're going to need more and more of going forward.
My biggest thing, I love cooking and I'm a perfectionist, so it sucks. You just have to taste. You just have to taste when you're cooking to make sure if it needs something or not. And people don't do that. They just follow a recipe and they go, okay, recipe's good. It should taste good. But no, everyone's tastes are a little bit different. So you want to taste it and just know if it's right for you and adjust the recipe if you need to. But people don't do that.
And yet you have to think about things like timing. I mean, because, you know, you throw, all right, thyme or a very aromatic
rosemary or something.
Rosemary, very aromatic thing. You want to toss that in at the very end. Mm-hmm. You don't want to overboil that because you boil away that scent. So there are different times to add those things that you learn through experience. And you grew up around old ladies that were, you know, if you grew up around old ladies that were Depression era, you learned a lot of skills, you know, a lot of freaky stuff like cleaning up your hands with gasoline and lighter fluid and whatever, you know, paint thinner, whatever we had around, Mom would put on it to get us off. You learn skills. That's some skills.
you add fresh herbs to cooking, it's good to crush them a little bit between your fingers.
Yeah, bruise them.
A lot of the oil, and it makes it even nicer. Yeah.
And
that's what. Well, I learned to cook with. I use stuff from my garden, but I also use a lot of wild. I go foraging and get a lot of wild edibles and wild plants and wild herbs and fruits and vegetables and stuff, and use those in my cooking. And I made a really terribly failed meal one time using wild onions and beef, and it was really burned. But I told myself a long time ago, whenever I burned bacon for the first time, that I had to eat whatever I cooked if it was as long as it wasn't poisonous, because if I ate it and it tasted bad, then that was a guarantee that I wouldn't mess it up next time.
Well, one of the people that I like was Alton Brown for Good Eats. He threw in some science to cooking. For example, like the thing where you crush up stuff, how everything mixes chemical-wise, and why sometimes you want to put something in the refrigerator for a while before you start baking it or cooking it. And a couple of things if you're making salad, don't chop it up, the lettuce. You want to go ahead and just tear it apart, because when you tear it, it doesn't go into the veins or whatever. So when it airs, it gets a lot more purpley and spoiled faster. So if you tear it, it'll last a little bit longer while you're waiting to eat it. Anyways, things like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of chemistry in cooking. A lot of
yeah. There's actually a book series by, I forget his name. It's a really expensive book series. It's on my wish list of things if I won the lottery that I'd get. But it's $500, and it's the science of cooking. And they actually got real meals, and they sliced them in half using the laser, and while they were cooking, so you can see a diagram of the meals of cooking. And there's all these they did a TED talk about it. They talked about how hard it was to do all the ones of the wok, because all the food would just slide down when they sliced the wok in half and into the fire. And so, but they talk about all the chemistry and all the gastroenterology and all that, and how it all affects. And it's really just they have it all down to a perfect science of how to do it. And it's I want it so bad, but I know I probably won't be able to afford it for 10 years.
YouTube video, and then you'll get paid. Share it with everyone.
What was it called? I could probably find it for cheaper than that.
Let me look on Amazon really quick. It's in my wish list.
What was the source that you were talking about the person that taught you a lot, Ivan?
Oh no, I just watch a lot of different stuff, but Alton Brown of Good Eats. If you ever want to see some of his episodes, it's pretty good.
Well, I've got it in Ariel's direction. I would suggest you buy a couple different editions of The Joy of Cooking. You buy an old edition and a newer edition, and you use it for if you want to make real old-timey stuff, you go into the old one, and they teach you how to do rabbit or whatever, and it also teaches you how to make dumplings with lard and everything else. And then the newer ones teach you different things that you wouldn't know. But it's a good resource to just have in your house, because it's really complete, to at least fake it, That's one of the, I don't know. I learned from a woman that never measured shit. So we just go about, I look at my hand, I pour a bunch of stuff into it, and I think that's probably about enough. And throw that in, and I taste it, and go on. Understanding when you boil it down, it gets, more intense, and it's all. I think it's just learning by hand.
The more used to it you get, the more you can do it by ear. It's like playing music, same deal.
Everything that I cook, I suck at, but everything that people taught me to cook that I cook, I guess I cook everything I cook that's my own. It's not that good. I mean, I'm the cook. I cook a lot, but it's not that great. It's nothing special. But the dishes that people have taught me, they're always really good. Recipes I look up, again, it's just it's not good. I don't know what it is, but just when I'm taught in person and I pay attention, because a lot of times I'll have people make really good food in front of me, but I fail to pay attention.
Can you guys see that? Yeah, that's the book I was talking about. $507 for the 5.
Wow.
But if you had the money to get it, that'd be pretty cool.
How come it,
Copies of The Joy of Cooking at Goodwill cost you about 15. So
how come I see it for like $36.99? Oh,
Like,
it's in
for
PDF
money, they
format.
better cook it for me, you know?
yeah, it better come with it better come with a whole side of beef connected to it.
The Joy of Cooking on Amazon is $20 or $35 if you get it. The old book.
You go to Goodwill, you could pick. I'm telling you, you could pick up different copies. Goodwill and Salvation Army, and you could pick up old copies of cookbooks easy, and good cookbooks like those. If you walk around one of those places enough, you find them, man. I mean, when I first got disabled, I started doing that. I'd trot around the thrift stores looking for this and that, you know, and on the cheap, you can get all kinds of cool stuff there.
Yeah, that's where we do a lot of our clothes. That's where we've done a lot of our clothes shopping growing up.
Well, go into the bookstore, into their books, man. I'm telling you, it's cheap as hell. And you can, the thing is, you can find like cookbooks that are pretty current that, you know, people got for Christmas or whatever. They just toss them into the thing. So you can get real deals, man. I mean, if that's where, because having paper copies when the electric goes out and you got they used to sell these bags of like seafood parts, and it's like squid legs or you know, all these little things all mixed together, sort of. It looks like something washed out of scupper, but you take that, you know, and I make stew with that or whatever. But it's like, if you have a cookbook that's just a paper cookbook, there's also sort of you learn, you know, the thing about it is it starts getting dough on the page where the or, you know, so some batter from pancakes where the pancake recipe is. You learn to get through the book quicker than the internet, man. So, and I don't know, I guess I'm old timey that way, but I think that having a copy like that is
you know what?
You just sit and breeze through it.
Hey, look, you're 18. Just experiment, throw stuff in a pot, see if it tastes good.
That's what I do. The meal I make more than anything is stir fry using just whatever I find out in the garden and out in the woods.
Yeah, throw a few vegetables in there, some meat,
spices,
some carbs, whatever. Just freaking go to town, man. You may invent something that's good, which I have done many times.
It's real cheap to grow your own mung beans too, I mean, they're real easy. You can get a cheap mung bean grower, and 4 days is what it takes.
Yep.
The sprouts.
Yep.
Yeah, you plan 4 days ahead, and
they're really good for you.
Having 4 times as many as I need, and when you buy the bulk mung bean seeds, it's not very expensive at all. And if you buy a can of mung beans at the store, it's like $1.60, $1.80. And you might use 15 cents worth of mung beans to actually grow 6 times or 7 times that amount.
And it's really good for you. You know, it's not going to be full of, if you do it right, you know, and it's not going to have bacteria or E. coli or whatever.
Another good book is Grandmother's Kitchen Wisdom, and like all these, basically like the old school, do it, make it yourself type, solutions for like around the house and recipes, stuff like that. I mean, it's just got everything. Basically, it's a grandma in a book.
Oh, the Kitchen Wisdom and Know-How book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's in my library. I love that book.
Right on.
Yeah, because there's the Kitchen Wisdom and Know-How, Garden Wisdom and Know-How, Survival Wisdom and Know-How, Country Wisdom and Know-How, Woodworking Wisdom and Know-How, Natural Healing Wisdom and Know-How. There's a lot of really good ones.
I think I've got like the kitchen and then one other one. I can't remember which one it is now.
I remember my brother had the Foxfire books, and those were like that. They were sort of bizarre because there was no real pattern to them. You know, you go through them and how to make a mandolin out of a ham can, you know, and all these things. And then the next thing would be how to skin a deer or something. You know, it would be bizarro sort of mixture, but it worked.
When I lived in Alaska, when I was a kid, we used to go out hunting. And so I'm not really opposed to guns, but I'm just opposed to crazy people having guns and them not being insured. But anyway, my Uncle Terry, who was a sheriff police officer, and my Uncle Bobby used to take us out, and we'd shoot big freaking things, and we'd eat them. Because when I was a kid, there wasn't a lot of grocery stores. And during the season of hunting, there were big skins draped across the garages. Like every third or fourth house, you'd see a skin, whether it's a bear, a caribou, or a moose, or elk, or something like that. But we had to learn how to skin, dice it up. I was a little slave boy. I was like, once they taught me how to do it, that's all I did, all the time. Chop, 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 cook, chop, 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 slice, gut, you know, this just forever. But it taught me some other things with gamey meat and how to spice it properly, you know, which I still know to this day. So what Broken was saying earlier is a lot of kids, I don't think they have a lot of that. You know?
I don't. My family didn't teach me barely anything. It's like here's how to boil water and add hamburger helper or mac and cheese. That's what my family taught me, basically. Like my grandma can cook a little bit, and my uncle can cook a little bit, but I don't live with them, so I really barely have any knowledge of cooking and how to, you know, I don't have any family that's ever taken me out hunting. I've only ever killed one animal, and that was a snake that was trapped in my garden netting.
Yeah, there's, you know, and I used to go diving in Hawaii at night. I got a lot of weird, crazy stories. But the thing is you're 18. I don't know what you're doing or how you're doing it, but all I'm saying is live, you know, go out there, enjoy life. Right, Eric? Eric, do you agree with me? Eric?
Eric, are you awake?
He's been in this position for an hour.
Stevie says bear jerky is amazing and it changed her life. What does bear jerky taste like?
Wow.
Oh, bear jerky? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's basically like all the amazing flavor of jerky, but it's not too dried out. It's like the perfect amount of like flavor. I don't even know. Like you've got to try it. By the time I got up the guts to try it, there was only like a little tiny piece left, but like it was amazing.
Well, because bear's really fatty meat, right? So that's why it has a lot of flavor, right?
Mhm.
It was a brown bear?
Birthday.
Probably.
Pretty tasty.
Hey, what'd you ask, Ariel?
Oh, I asked what your birthday is. My astrologer sense is getting peaked.
Oh, November 25th.
Ah, early degree Sag.
There it is.
Mr. Adventure Man, but very small.
That's a good thing.
Sag is explore everything.
Now you kind of got me interested in mine.
I know you're a Libra, but that's all I know, Stevie.
October 13th.
Yeah, you're right.
What time?
You're right.
5:03.
What's your year?
87.
87. So let's think. I'll figure out what your Chinese stuff is. So let's see.
Oh, can she do mine next?
You got a bunch of clients here, Ariel.
I know. You guys are rocking my world these days. I got Ebon in, and I've got Kelly lined up. She's already ready to go, and a couple others. Got 2 or 3.
You don't have to do mine. You can skip me.
Let's see. So 80 would be the month.
James is a Cancer.
I'm kind of curious to what mine would be.
He's not a Cancer. He's about the last.
I can be a Cancer.
Let's sexy.
Oh, I want to. Hey, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. I'm not addressing this to you guys. Jenny Lynn in the comments, something sexy.
He said, "Say something sexy."
I did. I said something sexy.
Haha.
They're joking back and forth. She said, "I want you to get on there and say something sexy."
I know.
Evie, is it not? Oh, I don't think she's there now.
You want to know what's sexy? The universal basic income. Oh yeah.
That is so sexy.
You know what's so sexy?
My shirt.
Intelligence porn.
Oh.
I go to that hot new protest and pick up some.
What's on your shirt, Eric? What is that of? I can't see it. Sorry.
It's a wolf pack.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, that is super sexy.
Wolf pack shirt.
Hey, sexy is an attitude, brother. Sexy is an attitude.
All right, I think this session is soon to be closing. Do we want to do
I don't
something?
know where Stevie went. Oh, she's sort of there, but not all there.
Do we want to do something tomorrow night? I think I'll be around.
So true, Ariel.
There
Sure.
you go.
Let's do something tomorrow.
I can't get my astrology thing read to me real quick.
What's your birthday?
3/6/92.
3/6, so you're Pisces? And 90.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, early March is definitely Pisces.
And I keep feeling old when you guys say your birthdays.
Yeah, so
I
Pisces.
feel you. I feel you.
Pisces monkey. But I would say that Pisces is definitely the sign that takes most of its identity from the rest of its chart. Because Pisces is very malleable. It's like the ultimate water sign. It's very easy to influence Pisces. So if you've got a lot of other fire signs in your chart, or you've got earth signs or more water, it's going to change the kind of Pisces you are, because some of them are super depressive and just melancholy and sad all the time. Some of them are very, upbeat. Some of them are more earthy, and it really depends on the other influences that they're getting from the chart. But you're born
That's kind of funny because it seems like I'm influencing you guys more.
I would say also because you're born in the monkey year of 92. And so monkey people, it literally aligns closely with Leo energy. And Leos, they like to be center of attention. They are very proud of themselves. They're very strong personalities. Monkey people tend to be very creative. They tend to excel at creative careers. You'll see lots of actors and, performers. And
James, are you going?
Yeah, I go. Aloha, guys.
Bye. Good to see you. Take care.
Well, it's interesting.
James.
Stevie, are you back? Can you hear me? You said 87, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're a rabbit. You're a bunny. A Libra bunny. Talk about peaceful. That definitely is
You're gonna have to loan Steve your rabbit ears.
balance and harmony. The rabbit is powerful, though. The rabbit is considered one of the luckiest signs in the Chinese zodiac. And a lot of Asian cultures, I don't know, Iban, if they have this in Korea or not, but I know in Japan and China, the rabbit is a big deal. Like, they see the rabbit in the moon, not the man in the moon. And they'll have, like, the lanterns that they'll light for the autumn and have the full moon festivals. And it's really all around the rabbit. The rabbit is kind of seen as a magical creature in a lot of cultures. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a reason why people carry the rabbit's foot, and there's this idea that they're very auspicious.
I always thought the turtle was more of a thing between, and like Chinese and Korean culture kind of intersect a little bit because of the history, and so Korean culture kind of borrows a lot from Chinese.
I love
heard
bunnies.
that,
You're
I heard
very
that the dragon is supposed to embody all the qualities of all the animals.
The rabbit is super survival. I mean, they know how to make it. They know how to survive. It's a big, huge part of the rabbit's behavior. They like games too. They like to take risks sometimes. They like to gamble a little. Lady rabbits are, though, oh man, I think they're just awesome people, and they have a really good potential for success. They're very good at running things. My favorite Chinese restaurant is run by a rabbit lady, and she keeps that place together. Oh man.
I love Chinese.
I do too. But Chinese food is the best.
Oh, so you guys are talking about sprouts? You can like fry bean sprouts at high temperature with peppercorns already like soaked in the oil a bit, then remove them. I would say if you're sensitive to that, I don't want to like end up eating one, but like yeah, and then fry it in that peppercorn oil. And add like a lot of vinegar and a little soy sauce. And I'm not that great at doing it, but I don't know.
I'll try
That's
that.
good. That'd be good.
Yeah.
That sounds just perfect.
We'll talk.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. It's pretty good. Even if you don't do it perfect, it's still pretty good.
All right, Snort, go ahead.
Behind this wall is a Sen pepper wall, pepper garden.
Ah.
By December, I should be able to grow like a half pound a day.
We should definitely have another cooking / eating episode. Definitely see if Tim Black wants to do that, because he's been wanting to do a lot. And hey, we've got like, well, I don't know, we got a good mix. And I'm more on the vegetarian side, just because.
All right. And when we do that, there was this radio show, The Splendid Table on PBS. And they used to do this thing where people would call in and they'd have 3 things in their refrigerator, and you'd have to make something out of it. And it's a very interesting sort of game you could play. Just pick 3 things you'd always have around and ask somebody else what they'd do with them. You know, because maybe they have a totally different idea.
There was this guy I knew in college, and like we were like drinking at my house after like work one day, and he's like, "What do you got in your fridge?" And I was like, "Nothing as usual," or something. Like he goes over to my fridge, and like literally all I had in my fridge was bologna, eggs, hot sauce, and bread. Maybe I think some slice of cheese or something. But he like put all that together, and I swear it was the best thing in the world. Like I don't know, somehow like did it just right to like make that amazing. Still remember that. I tried to imitate it much times. Like frying the bologna and I don't know, it was awesome. And like sort of like a, what do you call that?
Omelet.
What do you call the egg? It's like still kind of like soft, like has the runny yellow, like over easy. Is that what it is? Or
sunny side up, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, like a sunny side up egg. And yeah, it was amazing though. Like I didn't think hot sauce and popcorn was going to be amazing either. Another thing I learned in college.
Whenever I ate wheat, I used to dip toast in sunny side up eggs all the time with my grandma's, because they have their own chickens, and so their chickens we know didn't have salmonella, so I felt safe eating sunny side up eggs at their house.
So what I usually make for like parties, it's in the link. It's a vegetarian version of the Hawaiian ham and cheese sandwich. It's kind of like a tailgate sandwich. It's really good and fattening, but it's really good.
Right on.
I feel like eating that right now.
now I'm getting hungry. It's like 3 in the morning. 3 in the morning here, and I'm starving.
Yeah.
I got one for you. It's you go to you go where the Mexican food is in most grocery stores like out here, for sure. But you might be able to have to look around a little bit. But it's called mole. It comes in a jar. It's like a chocolate. It's like a chocolate spicy thing, or not chocolate. It's cocoa, but it's incredible, and it's really easy to make. And you take that and you could put it over, rice and beans for a vegetarian thing. Just use like vegetable stock instead of like a broth, and then it's just like incredible stuff. You can bring in casseroles of just stuff you had in your cabinet with that $3 bottle of that stuff and some broth, and you can do things like I did three wine butt chickens in my barbecue, and then we ate one, and then picked all the meat off of every one of them. I boiled all that down to like a broth, and I made this smoky mole broth, sauce with the meat and all of that in it. Oh man, it's the shit, man, and it's easy to use across the board because it's vegetarian. You can look at the label. you know, I could quibble with people that what's vegetarian, what isn't. But as far as I remember, it was vegetarian. So if you make it vegetarian.
Yeah.
I end up eating vegetarian a lot of time just because I don't feel comfortable supporting factory farming. So I only eat meat if it was like prepared by someone else in my family, and like it was like they're expecting me to eat it and it's already made. Because otherwise, you know, I'm not gonna tick off my mother who put all that time and effort into making dinner.
Also, red meat's bad for you.
Hey, you know what we should do? We should do a weekly. So if we have a food episode, like a cooking episode, we have it once a week, but we give each other one ingredient, and we have to make a dish out of that one ingredient and present it the next week. So we all just.
What?
So for example,
make a dish out of one ingredient.
No, like people in this group all name one ingredient, and we have to make a dish out of all the ingredients that we all come up with.
That works for me, and we just write it down before you got to write it down before everybody shows. It's like liar's poker. You know, you got to show one thing, but it's going to be everybody can't look until we show it.
Oh, good one.
Yeah, that's a good idea. The only problem is,
and then it's just we're making it in our mind, you know, so that we don't have to come up with 87 ingredients that we came up with. But I dig what you're saying. I love that idea.
They just have to be ingredients that are fairly common. That way, I don't have to like drive out of town to a specialty store, because like I live in the Midwest where food is crap and all the grocery stores are the same.
Well, but what we're saying is it doesn't matter. It wouldn't matter because it's only in your mind that we're making these things.
Yeah.
We're trying to use as many ingredients as possible in this one dish we're making in our mind, or our like menu.
No, I say we actually make it, and then we take pictures and see how it tasted, and you make your own recipe for it, like how you made it.
Yeah, a picture says 1,000 words.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be hunting down 50 things to make.
Well, we got to make it easy. That's what Lucas is saying.
That's why I'm saying I think it's better to do it in our, you know, in theory.
Well, if
it adds a little bit to it.
Compare and be like, oh, that's an interesting recipe. How did you do that? And then it's like, it's profitable.
Yeah.
And if we wanted to, we could try to figure out by the next week if somebody wanted to make it, they could make something to show. But I think it's an interesting idea. I like thinking this through because this sounds fun. It's just we got to make it affordable and accessible for everybody. So
yeah, maybe just like some people do that, and then those people participate, and you just like talk about that, and then when you're done talking about it, fine. But like, you know, I would be interested to see somebody's, you know, your guys' food or anybody's food. But I mean, you know, just the point of like, you know, oh, that looks delicious, or that looks really good. How did you do that? And then it's pretty simple, little.
And
I could teach you how to make all the Southern basics. I can do a cornbread, a fried chicken, collard greens, black-eyed peas, and that is simple food, and it's cheap, and it's
This
good.
is the night where everything changed, where we all stopped caring about politics and made our own cooking shit.
That's what it all comes down to.
It's anything goes, and anything goes with the flows. You know what I mean? When the flow goes to cooking, and everybody lights the hell up, we talk cooking, man. Because it sounds like we have fun with it.
So maybe before tomorrow's Anything Goes episode, we'll do a quick 15-minute episode. Everyone get an ingredient. If yours is a meat, you can substitute with a vegetarian type of ingredient, and then we'll see where it goes. We could just try it. And
So do we actually cook it, or do we just mentally
no, we actually cook it. You don't have to participate, but if you do.
If you set it up ahead of time, if you set it up ahead of time, though, like a week ahead of time, then you have time to go to the grocery store.
Yeah, because you may not have everything there.
Yeah. And
I've got stuff to make a stir fry, but it takes me a while to get everything ready. That's the best in the garden.
Let's say anyone who wants to actually make the recipe and cook it, you get to name the ingredient. So you have to. Parker Carpenter, if you're going to suggest an ingredient, you got to do it. It's not just in your head.
I mean, that's kind of, I mean, you know, that's stretching it, because then I'd have to really, I don't get up and cook that much, but I mean,
Yeah,
I've got the kind of kitchen where I've got a lot of bizarre things that I might have just off the out
more
of
efficient or something.
fun. So it could happen.
Yeah. So these would be the main ingredients. They have to be in your dish, but you can add extra stuff. But it needs to complement it. It can't be just we have these ingredients, but you make something totally like else out of it. It's kind of like Iron Chef.
Vegetarian. So it has to be the feature. Is that what you're saying? You're
Yeah.
saying that these ingredients have to be featured in some way.
Yeah.
So could you make multiple dishes out of it and have a 3-course meal that features like all the different ingredients?
Good question. So are we making this exactly like Iron Chef? Or?
Well, I mean, it depends. It depends on what you want to. It depends on how you want to go. You get points for adding them all together. You get points for using everything sort of. The more you use in one dish, the more points you get towards the big. Nobody's winning score, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's good in that way.
If you guys ever, like me and my wife, we went to South Africa like a couple years ago. Wow, 7 years ago. But we stayed at one of these places, a house, and the place that we're staying at, she made us chakalaka. If you've never had it, it's pretty good. It's an interesting mix. I'll show you the recipe if I can find it. But
I was hanging out with some friends from Ivory Coast, and they made some kind of like dough, like there's just like some kind of dough, and I guess they boiled it, or maybe like oil they cooked it in. I guess it was oil that they cooked it in based on the taste, but it was just like really plain, and it was like one of those things where they did it right in front of me. There's like just whatever needed us to like or had some flour that had risen and just like or whatever, just like did this thing and threw this dough in the water, and it came out like so amazing. I think it's like a French type of thing that they said, but it was so delicious, man.
Yeah. So in the live chat, that's chakalaka. If you guys ever want to try it out, it's actually pretty good, especially with the type of bread that they had. It's a townships of Africa. That's where it was made. They're very poor areas.
Oh, that looks good.
The best bread I ever had was I went there's a Schönbrunn historical. It's a reconstruction of a Native American village where I live, the first village in Ohio, and they have churns there. You can actually churn your own butter, and you can go and you can harvest the Indian corn and grind it at the mill, like hand grind it, and then bake it into like bread, bake it into flour, and then bake it into bread. And so we had homemade cornbread with homemade butter that we had made ourselves, and that was by far the best bread I'd ever had.
Nice.
Yeah, this makes me think about like some of the basic like vegetable stews that you could make in the South, like out of okra and corn and tomatoes and beans and stuff, and just it's so good. It's cheap and it's healthy. It goes with anything. So good.
And like the history, yeah. Oh.
I'm afraid that like the cooking idea is like it's like a nice idea maybe if it was like a larger group down the road or something, but I think like maybe I don't know, I'm just speaking for myself, of course, that I'm just not the best cook and maybe not the best cooks like or whatever, but then also that there's more so I'm considering that maybe it's a lot of work and like little payoff, like so maybe it's just so much work and then really what is it, just a blurry picture of food from an hour ago.
Well, like I might make a video of it while I'm cooking it, or something like that. So
I mean,
you can go
in
further.
one sense, it'd be cool to like see 12 different versions of a chicken dish, or 12 different versions of like broccoli and tomatoes. I don't know, like that would be like I don't know, but at the same time.
Well, I think that if you're gonna pick ingredients, it should be basic ingredients that most people have, and so that it makes it much easier. It makes the access point much easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That we don't get like black truffles or something that is just insane. But you know what I'm saying. And plus, you got to find it. So it's better if we like stick to stuff you can actually find at a grocery store.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you can't put what was it called? Late cow bacon, or also known as hippopotamus meat.
Yeah, well, that probably is gonna be tough.
Anyways, I was gonna say earlier, like historically, or maybe it's scientifically, like soup was always a big deal because it would fill you up, and you get a lot of nutrients from just boiling, and not a lot of it dissipates like we have from frying and using a frying pan or sautéing it and stuff. So, and like they didn't have a lot of oils back then, like or fats. So, you know, boiling it you can add a lot of flavor to it that way without having all these fats and flavors. Anyways, it's interesting. Any way you could talk about food, you could go in 100 different directions, it seems.
Well, certainly, and I think everybody's going to have a certain style to what they make, you know. So.
All right. Anyways,
I'm game. Cool. I'd do it right now. If we want to pick some. You want to pick some ingredients now,
I'm
so
game
that
as
we.
well.
I would, but it's 3 a.m. where I live, and I gotta head to bed.
We'll start it out tomorrow night before anything goes.
Oh,
All
sweet!
right.
Can't
All
wait.
right.
All right, bye everyone. Have a good
everyone.
night.
Have a good night. Good
Bye,
night,
everybody.
chat.
Have a great weekend. See you tomorrow.
Thanks, man. It's a groove.
Triggered.
Triggered.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.